Today's episode is sponsored by No Strings Attached e-News, your premier online magazine with interesting and informative articles from lifestyle, entertainment, and news worldwide. Visit the website to find out what's buzzing on nsaen.com. Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Filmmaker Joy Shannon is today's guest. Joy will talk about her career in films, as well as her award-winning powerhouse film, Rock Island Prison, 1864.
Director, producer, and writer Joy Shannon, welcome to Life Stories of Marc Hoberman.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So much to talk about, so little time. I have to go way back, though, Joy. Where did your love of storytelling originate?
With my mom. Yeah, she loved movies. She loved big dramas. Barbra Streisand on a Clear Day, Funny Girl. She took us to see Camelot, the film, and she was just frozen at the screen. She couldn't look away. And I would look at her saying, gosh, I want to make art one day that captures the audience the way my mom was captured. And so it started with her. And for my birthday present in the 4th or 5th grade, she gave me a movie camera. It was a little Super 8 Bell and Howell thing. And I've been hooked ever since. So it started with my mom.
I love the fact not only that it was your mother, but that it wasn't just her love of film, it was your love of watching her love of film. So
exactly.
That's really incredible, because I know a lot of times if you go to a comedy club, it's really only as good as the audience. You could be laughing at everything, but if you're the only one laughing, that's the end of that. So it's just great that you know about the vibe of really being of your films being of service to others, for sure. So what type of events in life, because you write about some very real things, what type of events resonate most with you and why?
Well, I find I like to change genres. They say that you should just stick with one genre and become an expert, but I like to hop genres because you learn so much. I mean, I've made a horror film, and it was a supernatural horror thriller on race relationships. I've made comedies. I've made dramas, of course. I've even made an action film. It was an urban action film dealing with lost young people. And so I like to change. I've done animation, and I like to hop around in genres because you get to flex your muscles in different ways. Like in horror films, you really realize the importance of sound design and the importance of silence. In animation, you learn the importance of world building, because you have to figure out everything. Like we can rely on our crew to determine, oh, this angle or that angle, or our set designer to figure out what it's going to look like, or the wardrobe person. But in animation, all that has to be kind of thought out by the director. And of course, the animator draws it, but you have to really go deep into world building. But I find myself leaning toward films of social relevance and films that are on race relationships. Yeah, I think I don't make them exclusively, but when I look back, quite a few have been on that.
Well, so such a wide range of interest. So I know that when I see a horror film, what I don't like is silence, because I know that silence is not going to be on there too much longer. I'm not a big fan. I'm a fan of watching it, but too much tension for me at my age. So I love I love that you enjoy the other genres. But I have to ask you, there has to be a level of expertise, of training and learning. So where did you go to hone your craft? Because you talk about cinematography, you talk about writing, you talk about horror films versus socially relevant topics. So where does that learning take place?
Well, I went to Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a historically Black school, and I went there for 2 years. And then I transferred to Howard University in Washington, D.C., which is another historically Black school. And while I was at Howard, I was just fortunate to be a student under really incredible filmmakers, the professors, Haile Garima, and just other wonderful professors. So I learned a lot at Howard, and then I got a master's in Washington, D.C. at the American University in filmmaking. And then from there, it was just trial and error, just doing things, doing films, and just keeping at it and wouldn't giving up. And not all turned out the way I wanted. I got a grant from AFI, a small grant from AFI when I lived in DC, and then I got a grant from WETA, WETA, and then I got a grant from oh gosh, a couple of other places I can't remember over the years, and then I served on the board of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and read, gosh, about 200 proposals, and gave help to determine what other filmmakers got money, and then relocated to Los Angeles and just kept at it. I mean, it's some people get in after making a couple of films, and some people it's a long journey before they get their Hollywood break.
Oh yeah, we see so many stories of people who've had their scripts turned down 30 times, and all of a sudden, the 31st company picks them up and they win Best Picture. That kind of. So you really need some fortitude and perseverance. So
That's true.
I want to talk a little about your fabulous short film, Rock Island 1864. What was the genesis of that?
Well, I'm from Rock Island, Illinois, excuse me, even though I live in Los Angeles now. And during the Civil War, we had a Union prison, which is, you don't really expect it because you just assume that most of the Civil War activity took place in the South. But we had a prison in Illinois, and the prison held Confederate soldiers. And it was only open up for about 3 years. But during the last year, the white soldiers who were guarding the Confederates were replaced by Black soldiers. And these were most of them were recent runaway slaves. It was their first time having freedom. And now they joined the army in exchange for fighting. They would get their freedom. And as fate would have it, they're guarding Confederate prisoners of war, the men who were aggressively fighting to keep them in slavery. So I just wanted to make a film about those dynamics. And so it's called Rock Island Prison 1864. And it's a short now, but I hope to expand it into either a series or a feature. So yeah, so it's just it's a part of history that a lot of people don't know about. And I just thought it was good to recognize those soldiers.
Well, you did a phenomenal job at that. We've seen so many long and short films about the horrors of the Civil War, but in your character, Shiloh, we're witness to a very disturbing relationship between him and his former master, as you just stated. So what emotions did you experience when filming such a powerful yet tragic tale? Because you're dealing with things that really happened. You're a woman of color and you see these horrors. So what emotions do you have to tap into, and what does it do to you when you see this come to fruition?
Excuse me. Yeah. Well, Shiloh is based on a true character, and a true character who left Mississippi and joined the Union. And he really wanted to learn to read. I don't get into all of that in the short,
Right.
but he wants a better life. And so the actor had to really kind of like, I would say, make himself more humble in some ways. Not really humble, but more timid, because he couldn't bring the freedom that we're used to in today's society. Because it just, the slaves just didn't have that kind of freedom that we're used to nowadays. And so he had to really shift down. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So he had to really, really shift down and pull back his emotions, because I think in today's world you can stand up for yourself. Black people can stand up for themselves, but during slavery, you took a chance of being killed if you stood up for yourself. So he had to really tone down and downshift his emotions as an actor. And then Clement, who plays his former owner, and this is something that actually happened according to the director of the Arsenal in Rock Island, the Arsenal Museum. This incident really happened where a slave while he was guarding, ran into his master. And so that's the whole premise, that he runs into his master, and you can imagine the kind of tension he must have been under. So Clement, who plays his former owner, is very, very he won't he doubled down he doubled down and he's very hostile. He's very hostile. He there's so many words I want to use to describe it, but I'm kind of trying to choose my words at the same time and carefully choose my words to describe Clement. But the two of them are kind of similar to what's going on today in society. It's like we have so many Black books that are being banned. We have the DEIs that are just being blamed for everything. And we have so much of an assault on Black people. So that's what Clement kind of represents. Even that was 160 years ago. He represents the mindset that is assaulting Black people and every day in the news. Those kind of politicians, those kind of powerful people. Shiloh plays the Black person who just really wants a better life. That's all he wants. It's just a better life and not all of this constant assault. So, like I said, I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I don't want you're sure to get banned for me saying the wrong thing.
That's okay.
I think they can catch my drift on
absolutely
who would Clement be in today's world. I think
yes.
They kind of know who he would be.
Correct. And I have to tell you, it was so authentic because I'm not going to lie. When I saw it, I questioned, wait, why isn't Shiloh? He's now the guard guarding, as you said, his former master. Now it's his turn to get even, and there was such a holding back. I was waiting for, okay, now it's my turn. And it is so authentic because of the treatment that he received as a slave. And, the former slave owner talks about Shiloh's grandmother and sister. And you can't tell by the scene who's really in control. And you're looking, saying, wait, this guy's got the rifle. This guy doesn't have the rifle. And I think you said it best when you said that the former slave owner doubled down on the racism, doubled down on, it looked like he was still the owner, and it looked like he was the one with the proverbial gun when he wasn't. And so it just shows you, I have to tell you, I'm not giving away too much, people are going to see it and love it. I don't want to say the wrong word, but I will tell you this, where I'm coming from. The first 2 minutes, which I would consider like almost the opening, maybe a minute and a half, very disturbing.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know you meant it to be so, but it was just very powerful and disturbing. And I know that some of the story, is based on true events, but some things are connected to, I think, your hometown, as you said, Rock Island, Illinois. What's some of these experiences that you witnessed or were part of that you brought into your short film?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that, like you were talking about, Shiloh didn't really exert himself. He didn't really stand up for himself and show that he's the guard. I think in today's prison, a guard would have done that. But back then, it shows the power that Clement still had. Even though he was the prisoner, he still had the power because he was still a white male. And so that was in Shiloh's subconscious from years of just being on the plantation. But in terms of personal experiences, Rock Island is a really sleepy little town where people, for the most part, get along. And so that's why it's so unusual that we had this Civil War prison there. But at the same time, which is also interesting, we had quite a few abolitionists in that area. In a place called Geneseo, which I wasn't able to bring into the short, but it's only about an hour away, they had a group called the 38. And these were 38 abolitionists, all white men, and they would just kill anybody, even if they were thinking about buying a slave. I mean, that's how passionate they were about it. And some of them died standing up for their beliefs. But they were really diehard abolitionists. We had Dred Scott lived across the bridge for 4 years in Davenport, Iowa. And we also had the original John Deere. He was he started the John Deere, the plow maker. He too was an abolitionist. So we had quite a few abolitionists in the area, and he lived in Moline, Illinois, which is only about 10 to 15 minutes from Rock Island, and I'm talking about cars nowadays.
Right.
But so it has a very good history of people who stood up for to stop slavery. Now, of course, there were Confederate sympathizers. There was, no question. But it's interesting how many abolitionists we had in the area, and
Wow.
it's encouraging. And it's encouraging to know. I think I think that's something that more young people should know about.
Oh, absolutely. And you really did flip the switch because you talk about places that are near you. So I'm about 30 minutes from where Easton Penitentiary was, and now it's like a museum. You can go and see it. And I'm a very big fan of prison shows, prison movies. I
Oh,
can't
okay.
tell you how confused I was, but only for a minute. Because you said that would never happen in a prison today,
Mhm.
where the guard was cowering almost to the prisoner. And it just shows you in such a short amount of time how horrible it was then, how things well, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Many things have changed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you can really empathize with Shiloh because, as you said, he doesn't want revenge. He wants to be free. He wants to get along with his life. And it's also different because he was very different from the other two black guards who were with him
Mhm.
guarding the former slave owner. So just that dynamic was both the unspoken and spoken was just so powerful.
Well,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah, it was just great. And I often talk with my guests on the show about the story behind the glory. So what obstacles, Joy, did you have to overcome in order to bring this work and your passion to the screen?
Well, it required quite a bit of research, and the research was really fascinating. I mean, that was just a fascinating period in American history, the Civil War. And I think, it's not only fascinating about against the North versus the South, but also the plight of Black Americans, what happened to us because of the Civil War. So I did a lot of reading, and the more I read on it, the more you had to keep reading, and you had to keep reading because it's just layered with so much fascinating history. But I think, in terms of most filmmakers, getting the money, I just saved and saved and saved until I got enough. It's a micro budget film, but enough to film it, and then getting the cast. But see, here's the thing: is we shot it in LA, and it's difficult to shoot that kind of period piece in LA because LA has all these palm trees and and all these kind of things that just don't work for period pieces for 160 years ago. So I decided then, since I couldn't shoot much outside and there really weren't many options for a fort or a fortress or a prison, I said, okay, we'll just shoot it on a sound stage. And so that was good on one hand and not the greatest on the other, but it was more practical. It just made more practical sense to shoot it on a soundstage. Now, had we been filming in the South, I think we would have had a lot more options
Mhm.
of places, locations. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think of the oh my gosh, I can't think of the film's name. But anyway, it was so yeah, so that was it, just getting just the production. We shot it all in one day. And yeah, just the regular filmmaking things, and then from there, just the editing, and now we're starting our festival run, and I finished it 2 months ago, and we're already in 8 film festivals, and we won the best drama short. I just found out the other day the best drama short in the Hollywood Reel Independent Film Festival, which will be in Hollywood, California. And my screening date is March the 8th at 5 p.m. And if anybody in the LA area wants to attend, would love to meet you. Just go to the website for the film festival, Real Hollywood. It's the Hollywood Real Independent Film Festival, and that's Real REEL.
I was just
And
going to say that. Yep.
and
And
so yeah, just doing the music. Doing the music was fascinating. That was fun because I wanted to keep it kind of like Civil War kind of music. But we on a couple of songs we made it more contemporary. Like at the opening song, we put a hip hop groove on top of a Civil War piece. And so yeah, so just regular filmmaking uh struggles.
yeah, and I wanted people to know that although it's a short, the teamwork is unbelievable because you have a list of people, credits at the end. So, and it really did come together. You need the right music. You need the right look. There were no palm trees
No.
Palm trees maybe in the state where you were filming, but there are no palm trees in the video. And the soundstage was the way to go. But the sound, just because you walk onto a soundstage, doesn't mean the magic happens. You need people in control of that part of the filmmaking. So just a lot of team effort. I'm amazed, even though it's a short, that you filmed it in one day. Was that the plan? Did you tell most of the people, listen, you're coming in Thursday, but by the time you leave, we're going to be done? Did you really? That was your
Yes,
plan?
sir. Yes, sir. We had to because of the cost. The
Mm,
cost of the cost. Yeah, yeah, that's the only thing about shooting in LA. It's gotten quite expensive. I mean, the insurance, renting the soundstage, that took the most of the money. The insurance, I mean, gosh, insurance is crazy for films. And then the permits, um, those three items took more than anything. The crew and cast weren't that expensive,
mm,
but the permits. And then we had to get costumes and rent fake replicas of Civil War rifles. They were non-firing. They weren't even able to fire. They
right.
just look at them and they look like the real thing, but they don't have anything that allows them to fire. And so yeah, the costumes, we got those. And so yeah, just regular filmmaking stuff.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the award. I have a feeling it's not going to be your last for
Well,
sure.
thank you.
Yeah, and I have to ask you, we have about a couple of minutes left. I think that yours was a bold undertaking, and there's a wording I read about the film, and I want to know your definition because you brought this to the film. What is your definition of unflinching honesty?
In filmmaking.
And this one
Well,
specifically, actually.
wow. See, that's the whole thing. Independent films can be like that. Hollywood films kind of have to, for some filmmakers, they can't quite. And it's a strange dynamic. Hollywood will allow, they will encourage and endorse and embrace films that have like, horror films or action films that kill 25, 50, 70 people. But if you do something that's unflinching and very honest on race relationships, they shy away from it. So it's kind of like it's what we feed society is really needs to be relooked at. So I guess that's a difficult thing to answer. What is my definition of it? Because it's two different worlds, the Hollywood world and the independent world.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, but I mean those films are out there. They're
Yeah.
really out there, but you don't see them much because Hollywood doesn't look at them as commercial.
Mm. So I would argue that if someone asks me, what do you think about Joy Shannon's, what's the definition of unflinching honesty? I think it's the film itself.
Okay.
Nothing is held back, and you are drawn in. I was a teacher for over 30 years. I could see this in a history class. My God, this could be a 1 week lesson arc. There's so much in there to unpack. So I will end with this question because there's so many things you do, so many different genres. So what's next for Joy Shannon?
Well, I'm going to shop this around and try to get it done as a series or a feature. And I'd love for it to be a series because there's a lot to, like you said, to unpack. It's a lot of the dynamics between Shiloh and Clement. There's a lot of the area in the middle, in that small town area of anti-slavery, people standing up that were against slavery. There's a lot of history that can be dramatized and made, hopefully in an entertaining way. Not exploitative, but entertaining to teach young people of how the Civil War, we were free due to it. At least a segment. I mean, I don't want to get into the complications of it, what states were, what states weren't, but eventually we were we were free due to it. And I think it's also important to encourage young white kids to let them know that it's cool to stand up for to take a stand against racism, like many of the abolitionists did back then. That's why I want to bring them into it if it gets done in a series to show that there were, it wasn't just always Black people being tortured and mistreated. There were abolitionists that were on our side that helped us. And so I think that's good for young white kids to see that, to realize it, and that was a cool thing. So that's the future for it.
Outstanding. So I just want to say time has flown, but Joy Shannon, thank you for joining us today and sharing your passion for telling all stories, even the most difficult ones. And to the viewers, I hope that Joy's story helped you realize the importance of learning from history to help us improve our futures. So Joy, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and just love your show and love everything and all the good energy that you bring. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.